Like, men are much more likely, I think, to be virgins than women
At 25.
at 25. I think it's more
I can
like
see that.
Yeah, I can see
But
that.
I think that's not like due to attractiveness and like the thoughts that come to your mind first. I think it's also due to like disparity.
women are
in,
sleeping around.
I think it's due to a disparity in men's mental
Just
health
kidding.
care.
They don't do that. What?
I think it's due to a disparity in men's
You
mental
think
health
men
care.
are virgins because there's a
they
lack
don't
of...
they don't go to anger management. I think it's
Hold on, you
yeah.
just went to different fucking places.
Yeah, I did.
You think men are virgins?
I think a lot of men are virgins because they're angry, and it's
I-
hard for them to have a partner when they're so angry.
That's
and
a
they
hot
have
take.
unresolved-
Andrew, what you
Yeah.
got for that?
Yeah, I mean, but I would just either the logical evidence for it or the empirical evidence. I'm fine with both, but I would like to actually know what the rationality is behind why you think that men, when they're in their early 20s, are not getting together with women.
Grid One
Well,
Motorsports
I think-
donated $100. I did not say they were undateable. I said it was
God.
weird, and it is. You assumed undateable because that is where your mind immediately went, because that is what you believe.
Okay. Sorry, that kind of like distracted me. Lost my train of thought slightly. I think I need those numbers on the screen, like over my face right now. So, my point about like men being angry and that leading to them being virgins is the fact that like some men, as I've seen on like forums that are more than just like red pill oriented, like straight up pro incel forums, there are guys who are like just angry and seem to feel entitled to sex and angry and don't understand why they get laid. And I think that lack of confidence and like the mental anguish and anger that they hold is just perpetuating their cycle of virginity.
No, I mean, how many incels do you think there are?
I don't think
Like
there's that
angry
many. I think
incels.
more men are good than bad. My boyfriend is a great
Yeah,
example.
well, I mean, if that's the case, then you kind of contradict yourself.
I don't think there's that
because-
many virgin men either.
No, but if you look at the rates of men who are staying virgins until they're,
I don't know that
past
statistic,
25,
so you'd have
26,
to-
27.
You'd have to
Hang on a second. Let me
Yeah.
finish my point here. So if you're looking at the data here, I would actually like to know why it would be that you would correlate this with anger issues, just because
'Cause
of
of-
some shit you read on forums, or
No, because I'm not looking at the data here. I don't have the statistics in front of me. If you can tell me how many men in the world in their 20s or whatever are currently virgins, then I might form a different opinion, but I don't know.
Okay.
The only ones I know of...
well, let's forget that for a second then.
Okay.
Nickelodeon donated
No, no,
$100.
How about
A
that?
man was drowning in the water, turned away 2 boats saying God would save him. He drowned and asked God in heaven why he wasn't saved. I sent you 2 boats, idiot. You talk faith, don't refuse a gift.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny joke. I've heard many variations of that. But yeah, back to this. If you don't have the data and you're not familiar with the data, then there must be some logical or rational reason why you're coming to this conclusion.
Well, it's just based on like guy friends and people I've like seen online, and just like it's only based on like a statistic based on the amount of males I've seen that are virgins. But that's not all of them, and I'm not suggesting it is. So it is quite likely that if we tallied up all the male virgins in the world, there's much greater reasons than just their anger and lack of mental health, or maybe just in America too, like even if we did that tally. But from what I've seen, and from all these forums that have been put out in recent years, pro incels and for incels, those specific men are extremely angry, and I do think they would have less trouble getting laid if they weren't so angry and if they were just confident in themselves.
Can you give me the name of any of these forums?
Mostly
Just
on
one
Reddit.
name.
Just mostly on Reddit. I like Reddit.
So just Reddit?
Yeah, there's a lot
So
of
can you
people
admit
use
that-
Reddit,
that
and
these people,
I mean,
that these people are angry because you read it on Reddit?
what?
Nick, can you boost the audio a little bit on?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, you seem to be
That's
coming
fine.
to the opinion that with your rationality is the reason you think that young men are staying virgins for X amount of years because they're angry, even though maybe most of them aren't, but at least a good portion of them are because you read it on Reddit forums.
No, I didn't read that verbatim. I've seen a lot of angry men complain about their virginity and perpetuate their virginity by doing nothing but complaining and feeling entitled to lose their virginity. I'm not saying that if we tallied up the score on every man that chooses to be a virgin or doesn't choose to be a virgin and is in their 20s or 30s in this earth, then that statistic would prove correct. I'm saying that's what I've seen, and I think that does apply to some, not all, but some, maybe many. I don't know. We don't know the statistic. We don't have the virgin calculator.
Because you've seen it on Reddit.
No, because we don't have the virgin tally.
I mean, we do have the data on this, but absent the data, because you don't know the data.
There's no log for virginity. The government doesn't send a pussy census. There's no log on virginity. Like, no, there's no data on that. That's something that's up for speculation.
Well, yes, there is. They use a self-reporting system to figure out how many men are staying virgins or not staying virgins. The same way we would collect all data in sociological fields. So, yes, we do have data on this. So you don't know what that data is.
Can you pull up that data?
Hang on, I don't expect you to know what it is. I do want to know what the rationality is, and it seems like the rationality is I read it on Reddit. So.
Can you pull up that data, please? I love to learn things.
Well, actually, I think Brian can. I think he has it in his hot seat. He can just pull up how many self-reported men are reporting virgins until 25. Yeah.
Grid One Motorsports donated $100. So it is weird for men to be virgins, but it is not weird for women to be virgins? Interesting. Do you not understand that it is purity and youth that men value? It's and not either.
No, I don't. I mean, I personally have a couple guy friends who are virgins still, and they're actually both 30 years old. And it's, again, tied to their faith, though. So it's not odd, but if you aren't part of that community, then you wouldn't know, you wouldn't understand. So, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not socially awkward. They're not ugly. They're like, it's not anything like that. I think it's just a standard. And then I know a guy who he personally decided to wait because
she's saying her friend didn't trust women based on a friend's story. But I think that also ties into like my point that like, I think that's like a trauma that he unraveled on himself over a potential scenario that's not of high likelihood. Mm-hmm. And I think that he could have resolved that in therapy.
I don't understand. Okay, cool. What's the whole thing? You're saying incels are angry? Is that your whole point?
I think most incels are angry. Involuntary, what it stands for, yes.
This whole incel thing is pretty much the biggest absurd moral panic I've ever seen. If the mainstream claims about them were true, we would absolutely be fucked. The number of men without sex lives who want them must conservatively number in the hundreds of thousands across the Western world. I don't know, in reality, the number is probably in the millions. If incels were really as dangerous as this moral panic claims, we would be seeing epic levels of violence, and we're not. So we've seen a few tragic events caused primarily by a toxic combination of mentally ill people. Yeah. And easy to access firearms, and
I agree
it's primarily about mental illness. I think
I agree that statistic's probably in the hundreds of thousands.
Mind you, a lot of these events are hardly restricted to incels. A lot of these are just mostly mentally ill people.
But I said men need mental health care.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, it's not limited to them being incels. Like, men need, in general, like, they need better health care, and they need to swallow their pride and be willing to get mental help more often. They don't often enough.
Cool story, bro. Cool story. I don't know if
Not going to tell it again, don't worry.
It's good. Hold on one sec.